I call the meeting of the board to order. This will board 16. Commissioner Ray Nelson is offered confident location, and then they'll be followed by notes.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity that we can gather here in this place to conduct business for the citizens of Nassau County, and that we seek your guidance tonight. We seek your wisdom. Give us discernment on right, wrong, and the things that we need to pay strict attention to. Father, we ask that you would be in this place with us tonight. Guide us and direct us. Watch over our first responders, medical staff, and services, all the people. Be with us now. Keep us, guide us, and direct us. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please roll call.
Commissioner Moore,
Here.
Commissioner Cole, Commissioner Nelson,
Here.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Here.
Chair Hill.
Here. Thank you, sir. So, Commissioner Miller, to your first meeting of the board. Here. And sorry that came minutes before start, second day of usual. And this is not a usual meeting. This meeting will get you off guard, your commissioner, because it's the election officers. And we don't have the ability under the sunshine law to talk to each other outside of the meeting. So when you're talking about taking on officer roles, sometimes people are off guard when they're asked to serve. And so I think it's good to have a discussion and get questions and we'll try to as unawkward as we can. So going right into it, it's the election of local officers. So I served as the vice chair and the chair last year as chair. And historically, the goal of that of the vice chair role was to notice the chair position. And so I wanted to start out, meeting vice chair Justin Taylor, the other chair position, since he served as vice chair in that role, but we received other nominations for that role.
I second that nomination.
So we have a nomination in a second. Is it part of the minutes to serve?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're gonna ask you like, yeah, of course, so the board, I'd be happy to serve as chair.
Excellent. Well, I've appreciated working with you, and I did talk to Rosanna briefly about expressions of interest, and she just said as long as folks are available, and she was hoping that individuals that have busy schedules that they would let her know, their time availability. I know we've done a good job of communicating that for this past year. So I thank you so much. So do we have a vote? We need a vote. So we have a motion and a second for Vice Chair Giller to serve as chair. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None. All right. Well, with that, I will hand the gavel. Chair Giller.
All right, well, thank you to the board for your confidence. Certainly appreciate that, and thank you to everyone here in attendance this early December meeting. At this time, we will entertain a motion for vice chair. We have a motion for vice chair.
I was going to suggest that Commissioner Nelson serve role as capacity as secretary to serving as vice chair. I think that would be a great benefit to the organization.
That's that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All right, goes. All right, motion carries. So congratulations to Vice Chair Nelson.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we'd like to entertain a motion for Secretary Treasurer.
Control.
Was that? I'm sorry.
It was, okay. I'll say.
All right, so we have a motion for Mike Cole to serve as Secretary Treasurer. We have a second. All those in favor, aye. Opposed? All right, congratulations, Mike Cole, into the new slate of OPA officers.
It's like, someone out on the date. So,
I want to, of course, thank everyone for being here. We have some ministry representatives, we have some speakers, speaker cards, you can get to that. But again, looking forward to exciting meeting this evening, and we can get some stuff done, move forward in a positive manner. And yeah, it's with the help of this board, our partners, over at, with the operator of Savage, and of course, the public, you know. Public comments, first I have Commissioner Danny, former Commissioner, Danny Ford. And those are, you know, the presidents,
Right. Danny Forward, 539 San Maria Drive. From there. Kind of strange on this side of the board, and with all the good and things they got. Congratulations, Justin, on the elections, your elections, Chairman, I know you do a great job. On the rest of it too. I'm here to talk about two particular resolutions that are on the agenda tonight. One is about property. You know, as a former board member, I can't tell you how many times we have talked about this property. And it just keeps coming up time after time. When we're gonna get off of this, you list the property, let it be sold, like, all voted for, most of us voted for it to happen. So I would hope we reconsider that resolution. I don't know what you had in mind for this tonight, but it looks like you want to take it all here. And I certainly strongly recommend you don't do that. Second one is the resolution where it says, the minimum standard required by law, a person elected to county, municipal, school district, or special district office is prohibited from representing another person or entity for compensation before the government body, agency of which he or she was in office 2 years after the office. I don't know if you're aware, but I have been asked to be a consultant or advisor to the board operator. Starting the first of the year. If you adopt this resolution, you're not going to be out of a job. And number one, I don't appreciate that. Number two, I don't know why you have to do this unless there's something why that would be. But have to come with the grants that they may get to the board office. They're doing a good job for grants, working with Customs and Border to make sure the facility gets done properly. They have somebody on their team that does that now. He wants me to take over that job and then I'm sure if he was here tonight, we could tell you what the are. But you know, the Board of Jacksonville tried the same thing and they voted it down. They said it was ridiculous for a court to not allow its employees when they leave to get another job, maybe considered part of conflicting with the board or whatever it is. But I strongly urge you to vote this resolution down and let me go to work first year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. And up next, we have Orlando Avila. Good evening.
Good evening, congratulations, Commissioner. Sorry. So
a few things, actually, three things that I want to, bring up.
I'm sorry, can you send the name, address for the,
I'm sorry, that, American Basis 1411 South 14th Street, Suite I, as an Indigo. So first of all, I heard back from Commander Butts, from the Harbor Safety Committee. They're doing their post-hurricane season wrap-up meeting on the 17th. The time and place was not yet confirmed, probably be confirmed by Friday. Most likely be in the FDLE offices over in Jacksonville, which is a usual spot, probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So when I get it, I'll pass it along so that you can send a representative. Second, issue, and was the primary reason for me coming, is, on November 22nd, I got a phone call from the tug captain, Aaron Moore, notifying me that he would not be present in town, to operate the tug, and I had a vessel coming in, on the same day he was leaving. And so, I was surprised that I got ample but very short notice. Things can move quickly and things can get done rather expeditiously, when to call, when to call. But regardless, the issue put me and my clients in bind because we had no notice. I asked Aaron when they notified Savage that he was going to be out, and he told me, oh, I told him about 3 weeks, maybe something like that. And so, I was very frustrated, and I relayed the same to the folks at Savage, because having to hire a tug from Jacksonville, it's $1,425 per hour, for the entire job. And the job is typically, as quickly as 12, to be as much as 16 hours. So it can add up to a sizable dollar figure when it comes to the tugboat fee for just an inlet versus the standard, 6,500 in, 6,500 out. So all told, our tug bill could have potentially been about $24,000, an $11,000 difference. That's a chunk of change. That's an entire tug job, basically. Now, because of favorable conditions and the fact that this vessel did have a working bow thruster, the pilots were able, since they had discretion, to take it out without its and max flood. Everything lined up perfectly, and we were able to take it out without a tug. And we were able to offset some of the overage costs. But if the tug is going to be out, we need to know ahead of time. If we have a vessel, we don't have a vessel, if we haven't had a vessel in 6 months, but we're calling forward, we need to know. Things like that need to be notified. Any other tug company obviously has more than one tug, more than one crew, more than one captain, different situation, different issue, but it puts us in a bind, and from a commercial perspective, potentially doubling your cost of tugs on this trade that operates on thin markets. Because let's face it, it's paper, it's not grain, it's not cement, it's not any of the high value carpets that you normally see. So I just need some kind of, there has to be some kind of a communication plan when it comes to operational things at the port. If the cranes are down, we need to know. Tug is down, we need to know. If the port is closed, we get notified. Which segues to my next point is, we mentioned to you guys before about the tariff, and needing some tweaking, some adjusting. The port closes for holidays, which is completely normal. But with the small port and some of the private ports that obviously have more leeway in how they handle their dockage and their tariff. But for our facility here, and I consider it our facility, I've been here almost 20 years working at this. Actually, before I was an agent, and security gates have been involved before for over 20 years. Um, the, um, the ability to waive dockage on a holiday, and reduce dockage to what we consider out of dockage, would, because we're not working, we're not loading, we're discharging, we're not doing any work, you're just sitting, is some flexibility that I think needs to be put into the tariff, not to, you know, obviously take away from the revenue stream, completely understand that, but the, um, the costs borne for dockage are from the vessel's work. Now, if an operator of the vessel or charter ops in the work and is going to pay the dockage, that's something they don't want to pay the overtime, they'd rather pay the dockage for a day and work straight time the next day, different story. But when it comes to not being at work and have to pay the dockage, that does have a negative impact. Frankly speaking, leaves kind of a bad taste in people's mouths, being charged and not being worked. Or not being the option to pay the overtime, the double time, whatever. Um, now, the other issue with the tariff is the daily security charge. I can understand why it's being done, but most of the public terminals, up and down the East Coast, and I can't compare apples to apples on Jacksonville, but they don't charge daily security. It's just a flat per call. Now I can understand if the call goes past a certain amount of time, there's a pro rata, additional daily rate for security after the basic amount. But that starts to add up, especially in bigger vessels. Here for a lengthy period of time, a couple of days, not a big deal. 4 or 5 days, it can add up. Almost doubles the dockage in certain respects. So I just ask you to, when you start talking about your tariff and start, sorry about that.
Thank you, Carl. That's really good.
So that's the other issue. The last thing is circling back around with tariff and tug. We need to have some kind of rate sheet. If tug rates are going to change from Savage, we need to have some kind of rate sheet published. So that we have it, so that when we get the tug bill and our customers ask us, well, where's the tariff? We can show them the rate sheet of the tariff, because without a tariff, my customers are pretty easy to work with, but when you have one that's not used to coming reporting for Andina and has a very strict accounting principles, if you don't have a published tariff, they don't pay me. And I ran into this when the tug was first acquired, and Sea Trade was refusing to pay the tug bill because there was no published tariff for the tug. So I want to avoid those fights. So I'm just asking you to please do this little bit of administrative stuff so that it makes my job and the other agents' jobs a little bit simpler and easier. So that's it. Again, congratulations to the positions, Commissioner Moore and new officers, and hope to see you guys again if they're still here.
One thing, so the tariff, the rate sheet, is that, the published rate sheet, is that common among other ports?
Well, so most port facilities don't have their own tug. You have Norway Towing, John Evans here, and you have McAllister, you've got Ibiza, you've got Cross State, you've got Como, Seabolt, all of them, all great towage tugs, present towing, all great towage tugs, independent of the port facilities, and they publish it here. It's on the websites. You can download it, you can look at it, and it's usually by the net ton, right? Yeah, by the net ton, and then they have other charges. But it's usually by the net registered ton. It's not, obviously our tons are smaller, our situations are different. So currently it's by length, the length of land, length of raw vessels. And so, it's fine. It works just fine. The rate sheet is fine, it's fine. It just needs to now, since it's under the purview of Savage does need to publish something so that we have it when we get a question. Why is it telling $13,000? Because this is the rate sheet. It's not an arbitrary.
And Colin, on the spot, but is there objection to that, to publishing your? Okay.
I mean, because obviously, we're going by the current ratio.
But also, I'm sorry, Chair. Real estate, Chair. Just, so we already published a tariff and it's Opus tariff. Sorry, Chair. do you remember?
Okay.
And so we have asked to have the tug rates included in the tariff because it's a public asset, right? And so I believe we did include those.
They've been in Opus Terra ever since I've been here.
Right.
But as far as the question of doing like a savage terror, because it would be a savage asset,
Right.
that's why I'm in bill of sale.
So but having a published rate schedule for all of the other tug companies, I don't know how we would achieve that.
Well, no, I'm not talking about that. The tug companies have rate schedule. So what I'm saying is, because OPA no longer owns the tug, it's not, when you publish a new tariff, you're going to take that out of the tariff. It's not part of your tariff anymore because it's not your asset. So you're not operating it or, working as a pass-through, or however your arrangement is. It is now Savage asset.
So responsibility falls on.
So Savage rates for stevedoring and everything else that they charge their clients, this would fall under their rates. And and most of the stevedoring and all that stuff, those are in-house and they're individually negotiated with contracts. And when I spoke to Greg before about it, Utah, I can't remember his last name, I'm sorry. So he thought that it was going to be part of those rates and they would be negotiated individually by the clients and that are doing the carbon. It's like, well, it can't work that because your shipper may not be your charter. And if the owner's paying the tug bill, they're not going to see the tug bill come through with the stevedore. So there's an industry way of doing things that's pretty much worldwide. And port costs are port costs, stevedoring costs are stevedoring costs. Now you can have an agent handle everything, but the port costs are port costs. And the tugboat is considered a port cost. So when you guys redo your tariff, you're going to be taking the tugboat tariff out. Unless there's some kind of agreement that Savage makes with you to include it as an addendum. And you can put the rate sheet as an addendum in your tariff, but you wouldn't have it be part of your tariff because you're no longer controlling the asset. That's how I've always understood it. And I may be a little off on the technicalities, but I do know the bottom line is we need to know what the tugboat is going to cost. If Savage do change their rates, which they can, and it's a fixed cost. It's a cost of doing business. If you need to tug, there's nothing we can do about it. We just need to know what it's going to be so that we can properly notify clients because we use several different accounting clearinghouses basically, and we have to upload those tariffs to the sorry, I use my hands. It's a human thing. We have to upload those tariffs on an annual basis so that they know that we're not making up prices every month. So it's not, I won't be the only one asking for it, but I'll be the first one asking for it, and my colleagues down the road, probably asking for it as well. So, but other than that, any questions for me though on this stuff? I know it's kind of getting into weeds, and I have no problem having getting a phone call and.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. Questions for Mr. Hill? All right, thanks, Jason. Right, going down to our next item under regular business, the approval of our November 13, 2024 minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Mr. Chelsea, you have Port Attorney Service.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll focus this on the property appraiser case. Outside counsel for has filed an covering the 2024 tax year, and also a motion to consolidate that case with the existing case. So those are filed before the court, but no decision has been rendered. The property appraiser has filed a motion to dismiss the amended complaint and go back and forth on dates for a hearing on that, which likely won't be until January, February. And our motion to stay pending your resolution, Gulf Breeze case, it's not filed, but it is in the works. So lots of motion filings, but no substantive progress yet.
Have any questions for Patrick?
I didn't. So the amendment added the next year for the most tax year.
The amended complaint is standalone. There were some issues with the first one that were addressed before the courts. So it's an amended complaint for 2024, and then a motion to consolidate that. We'll have to file them separately to then consolidate that with the existing case. But yes, for 2024.
And you're getting copies of all of the pleadings.
Yes.
Thank you, Patrick. All right, Pierre, Porter County reports.
So you should have received via email, obviously because of the shortness of the notice or the meeting into the current month, into last month. Obviously, it was impossible for us to get the report done until today, and so I think it was distributed via email. It's up on the board. Nothing really to note. Obviously, we received the quarterly fee from the operator. We received our last ARPA reimbursement. So the ARPA grant is now completely done. The 60,000 is the last amount that we will receive from ARPA. And then, as I said, we received some harbor and admin and bunkering fees. And then, as I said, no extraordinary expenses, nothing unusual as far as expenses. This month in the expenses. So, and then obviously the balances in the accounts, as you can see, in the operating account and the maintenance account, and obviously the operating account reflects the receipt of the ARPA grant and the quarterly admin fees. So the balance is at a good level. And that's it. So I'm not going to go over these financials. I sent them to you, but I'm not going to go over them because then I just noticed there's an error in the calculation of it's because we're making audit adjustments at the same time as we're trying to do the financials, and so the tugboat is in there incorrectly. So there's a huge negative amount in there that should be in there. So as I said, we'll bring those back next month to review the properly. So, but that's all going. So that's all I have. Unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Pierre?
Thank you for giving your reports in the past.
Yeah.
If I could just, I responded to the auditor request when we get some letters, you should have that. Something we do every year.
And sure, someone might have been doing in the worship.
As a blanket, I did. I acknowledged most everybody, thanking them for coming. If you want to stand up and state your favorite hobby or whatever you like, again. But yes, that's it.
It is, I would like to say it is Miss Julia Roberts' birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday. And you chose to come spend it with us. It's exciting. Well, maybe we'll roll up a or something. Yeah, happy birthday. And of course, we have Commissioner Fullwood here, who we heard from, as well as Orlando Vila. And then we have Davis Dean, who is here on behalf of Savage. And behind him, we have local consultant, Andy Gepperts. And then next to her, we have Director of Strategic Advancement and Economic Resources, Brandy Carvalho. And I apologize, don't know the gentleman. John Lee, okay. John Lee. John Lang. John Lang. You know, right?
Here's a Marine Tilly. I'll introduce you.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for being here. All right, the operator reports. Kyle, we have the GM, General Manager of Port Bernardino, Kyle Clark with us. Should I borrow your microphone? If I'm watching. Thank you.
Can't talk, that's right. So it was a good month for we had 5 vessels this month, 2 summer sails, you can text, and we had a Crimson in there as well. That's the large service, as well as the KL Venus. So you can see our overall tonnage is looking really good. The bottom line tonnage year to date, we're actually doing a little better than we were last year. And that's really attributed to the KLV really bouncing back. So good to see that. Nice safe month overall at 19 dockage days. Total rail cars 144, which is right in line with what we've been doing, and 23 trucks, so a little better than our average. Any questions on launch?
If you had to guess, forecast wise, even with new business, how's 2025 shaping up?
There's some guess.
Say great and then work really hard to make it happen. That's
Yeah, it has. We're excited for 2025. The things we're trending for since becoming a terminal, everything's going like this. We're very excited to have the bar service on site, paper strong. We're seeing a good trend with the hardboard. That's a big win for us. Historically, that's something Jacksport. We've seen it in our warehouses, but now that stuff's coming to us, so grateful, and we're really excited to have this. So 2025.
All right, moving on to the port issues and repairs. Do you have any updates on that? Any issues or repairs?
Is there a particular issue of repair been talking about?
I know,
Is this when we talk about cranes and stuff? I sent Commissioner Nelson my report, so I'm sure it got covered later on.
we
We can cover that under the committee.
then we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that.
And have communication on that, so I can.
There was an update to the list, the capital improvement list. Was there any updates there?
I believe we submitted that at the last meeting.
Yeah. For any updates, we don't need it on the agenda there. Pull that. Old business. So we've been discussing looking for some sort of really like a communications, social media person to really help with our messaging. I know the Economic Development Board, they're looking at different opportunities for some interns. We'll visit this, I think, first part of the year. And Tim Richardson kind of got back with us and is they're compiling all the information, getting things together. So we can kind of move past that for the time being. And then moving on to the 10B, the operating agreement. It'll be the port operator remittance schedule and procedure.
So I can give a little bit of an update because I've been on all those emails. I believe Patrick has been sharing this with the full board, but we requested a regular schedule of reporting from the operator and for remitting of funds, and Pierre proposed payments that would align with the practices that we have had with other payments. Hasn't seemed to be working. Okay. Let's turn off this guy on. It's better? No.
Try it now. Sorry.
Testing?
Yeah.
Okay, they were turned down. Is this one turned up too? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so on our payments, is that better? So the payments under the new schedule of the operating agreement, so now we're receiving a additional share of revenues, and so we had just requested a regular cadence for those payments. And I think Amy Olson, the lawyer for Savage, she had some disagreement about the way the payments would be remitted, but we haven't really landed on anything. And we were also discussing at the same time the pilot fee remittance, so I got back and forth for those emails. But so Peter, would you mind just explaining like the revenue sharing and why it's important to have like a regular payment schedule? Just so that we don't, because we haven't typically invoiced for that, and for certain payments will be in the past if they're regular payments.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously the revenues, again, I mean, obviously we've been receiving either on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, right? So depending on which revenues we're talking about, the admin and bunkering fees we receive on a monthly basis. The annual fixed fee we receive on a quarterly basis. And so kind of, obviously making sure that the flow of funds so that we understand the cash flow and we can plan and understand, what money we have available to meet whatever obligations is kind of the key component of that to make, again, for our cash flow purposes and things like that. So, we've proposed a schedule to her. I I don't know how far you want to get into that email and her reply back to us, or obviously we need to get together and talk about what our response is going to be. And to come, I'm sure we'll eventually settle on how we're going to move forward with it. But
Is it possible for maybe someone from their billing to talk with someone in your office if we needed to pay? Let us know if that's outside the bounds of our information, just to figure it out. Set a meeting to figure out how payments would proceed, and then come back to us and we approve it.
well, Amy has proposed in her email, right? So obviously separating out the different ones, right? So she's proposed for the pilot payment fees, right, to be remitted once a month once a year on September 15th, with quarterly reports of how much has been collected. We don't need the money, obviously, until October 1st. I mean, that money is specifically for a payment on October 1st. Should they have the money in their account? Should we have the money in our account? To a certain extent, again, as long as we know where we're tracking to, again, that single use, that we would open a separate bank account and keep that money in a completely separate account ourselves, or essentially it's at the Bank of Savage, right? So, do we care about that? It's not like we're going to earn that much interest on it. We're not going to invest it in CDs or anything. We need the money within 12 months. As I told you in the email today, the more important component of that is making sure we have the $50,000 on September 15th, right? And so Savage obviously has proposed in their comments to us, has proposed that any excesses above $50,000 would be put into the maintenance account. And essentially our counter proposal to that is that's fine, right? So if we collect more than $50,000 in the year for this specific tariff item, that's specifically to fund the pilot payment for the next 5 years. If we collect more than 50,000, that money would go into the maintenance account. And and obviously if we have what we propose to Savage is that if we have less than $50,000, we can also take that money from the maintenance account to essentially fund the $50,000. So again, that's in process of negotiations. So where we're going to end up or whatever. So the other part.
Can I just remember, so we paid the 37,000, so.
Yes. Right.
2 years of
Right.
payments.
Yes.
We paid that,
Yeah.
and then they have been collecting a facilities fee from customers, so it's intended to cover this payment since we first discussed it in the tariff. Because most customers don't pay the tariff rate, most makers do. So they got back to their customers and said, here's the additional.
Right.
And that funding, that those funds, you asked for that remittance, and did they disagree with that? To go into the account, right, so they wanna keep that money. And not fund.
Yes, yes and no. We haven't received a report from them of how much they've collected to date. So I don't know. I'm not aware of when they started tariffs. I'm not involved in that discussion. But obviously the question is, what's the first report going to show when we get the first report of how much they've collected and put towards this 50,000, towards this pilot payment? We haven't seen that yet. So I don't know. Yeah, are they going to start it once we agree and only take the money going forward? Have they started the tariff? Again, those are, I have no clear view of that. And like I said, obviously we'll get a clear view of that when they send us the first report of the collection, right? So, but yeah, I mean, but the other 37,000 was paid by the Economic Report Fund, but that was paid from our funds, yes.
In the first 50,000 payment as well.
Right, Yeah.
Forget 87 that came out.
Yeah, 87 is in the budget. You put 87,000 in the budget. Because obviously, yes, there was no, and remember, I mean, this agreement's only 5 years. So we have the same problem in 5 years, in theory, right? So where's this $50,000 gonna come from? Because obviously the 50,000 to the city, the pilot pay is, as I understand, forever.
And
Right?
it's for the port authority, it's not for OPA generally, it's for the port activities.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I mean, essentially that $50,000, and as I said, obviously Amy made very clear to her that this is a 5-year agreement that they've agreed to fund it this way. So again, after those 5 years, how will we fund this is an open question, right? So essentially, we're negotiating right now for those 5 years right now to make sure that, as I said, the most important part is that we have $50,000 from whatever source, because obviously the ARPA money, as I've said before, gave us a little bit more flexibility to be able to make $87,000 payments. Without the ARPA funds, we don't have we don't have $50,000 extra that we can put toward this without making some severe cuts to our budget. So that's why I said the important part is that we have on September 15th, $50,000 coming from this account to cover the payment that's due on October 1st, 2025.
So this is our item, not the operators, so, Chair, if it's acceptable, I'm happy to, this is will board to meet with Chair and someone from Savage, to try to sort out a payment schedule and reporting schedule for both of these items, or another member of the board wanted to go instead. But I think that's the way to handle it, we have someone from their finance department.
Whoever can agree to this, right? Maybe Amy, I don't know, with Savage can come to an agreement with us on that, on what it's going to be.
Yeah, well, I do agree though. I think, Commissioner Hill, if you can, gonna be the person to work on this. This will be for the tariff adjustment, the other agreement, the tariff adjustment, so tabs, 10, B and C. So yeah, we can get kind of moving on that, and then hopefully have a good update, positive update, come January.
Sound good?
All right, so that'll move us down to, for whole business again, tab D. Engineer retainer. We're going to be talking. No, we were looking at different options for the retainer sources than RFQ.
Yeah, so the background is that NDOT has been telling OPA for the last, as long as that we should have engineer that is available on retainer, so we don't have to go through a procurement process each time we want to evaluate a project. So this is just for like advanced planning. If there's a particular project and we need an engineer just to give us like a basic plan to put a proposal together. So we had asked Savage to come back with an RFP draft. And I think that Patrick and the council are coming before.
Actually, Greg and I discussed this. They don't have some templates, so we have kind of some examples that we can cobble together. I have those questions whether you want me to do that, or do you want to push this to Greg to do, or do you want someone else to do it? We're not gonna have to recreate a wheel, but we're gonna have to put a tire on the wheel, so to speak, to kind of take what we have that's not directly applicable and fashion it so that it fits with what we want to do. I asked Greg if he had something we could use, and said I do not. So I've got a couple of examples, but it just needs to be put together. And so I just need a direction whether you all want me to do that, or you want me to push it to Greg to do, or someone else.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Even 30 minutes. Yeah.
I didn't really, jump into it because I didn't want to, get out there, the work.
But if you had a draft, give it to like kind of go by. I mean, I would.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would be more than, 2 or 3 hours. It's complicated. I can certainly look at it, but it's also something I can give to, my associate to take the first crack at, and then I can look at it. So I'm happy to do it. I just want clear direction from you all, and I'm always cognizant of, your story and what you all are dealing with. It's not a big project. It just needs to be done.
So I've done 3 examples, I think, from the city, and I don't know if any of those worked. It's,
I have them. They're not, one of them works, there's bits and pieces of each, and then we're probably gonna have to find some language elsewhere.
okay. Well, we typically, I'm sorry, Chair.
No.
Okay, thank you. So if we, in the past, we had asked the operator to come early, if they wanted to grant him to fund the costs. So that's something they're looking at. So I think we should do that.
I don't know what they are. And they haven't done that for all of the grant work. So.
Right.
So I'm gonna reach out to Greg and talk to him about it. Or I'm gonna spend a couple, 3 hours trying to fashion something for you.
So I know we need something. I'd rather sort of the back and forth with the operator. I would suggest one of your associates, like you said, take a crack at it and template. Go from there, and then I guess if it's too complex, then we can revisit it.
We'll have to try.
Let's
Just don't want you to get so involved in it, you have to pay, your rate. Well, information is your.
Understood. We'll have to try for you. How about that?
That's great.
Yeah, sure. I mean, historically, our legal costs have been, have really been the budgetary, like the main budgetary issue. So while after getting started doing the ground work, if we are willing or able to pay for it, then, and we simply don't have the revenue to pay for it, the operator has the revenue to pay for it. And so that's where I think we really do have to be vigilant to say, and this is an example of something that really should be in the operating agreement, right? If we provide administrative and support services, if our staff takes extra time that we have to pay for, there is no budget for it. And we're dealing with 3 different people at Savage, and so we have to have 3 different conversations. And so that's more time.
Thank you. Yes.
So just to be clear, does the board want Patrick to work on it with the operator or no?
So I think it's consensus that Patrick's team was gonna take a shot at it, work on it, independent of the operator.
Okay.
And we don't want to ask them to pay for fees.
Of course, I'm not opposed to asking them to keep all the handouts and
You do what you can, the more that you want.
Any other commissioners have anything? Okay.
So up next under the new business, so this is it's the Atlantic to Okefenokee Priority Project Support. It's a request that came from the county. So earlier this year, Nassau County, in partnership with the North Florida Land Trust, they were successful in getting the Atlantic to Okefenokee Conservation Corridor approved as a Florida Forever project. So Florida Forever, it's the state's premier conservation and recreation lands acquisition program. It's a 5,000 acre H2O project. It's one of the largest Florida Forever projects that have been approved in recent history. And it spans from the Atlantic Ocean to the Okefenokee Wildlife Refuge, with the St. Mary's River at its northern boundary. And the project includes land that historically recreationally ecologically significant to the St. Mary's River. So the A2A is ultimately going to help protect nearly 80 miles of St. Mary's River and waterways that feed into that river. If you remember, going back to the 2022 elections, the public had voted for, they really said that their primary want and need is conservation and outdoor recreation. And that's what the referendum with over 65%. That's really what passed the Conservation Land Acquisition Management Program that the county has. So with that has come this much a great project, much bigger project. The county's funding with Keats Bay for the land acquisition program, where federally funded land acquisitions will reduce development around military installations to prevent additional activity and impact on facilities. And then there's also the opportunity for state funding that will reduce the financial impacts on Nassau County residents for conservation and acquisition. So next week, in Tallahassee, the DEP's Acquisition and Restoration Council will be ranking those projects, determining what projects may be eligible for funding. Although funding's not guaranteed, but this is going to really, kind of rank what's going to be eligible for funding. So the county has come to us asking OPA for letter of support for the Florida River project to be ranked high on that list that they can deliver to the committee. I know they've gotten support letters from Representative Black, Senator Yarborough, and several other elected officials and key stakeholders, really in the community. Brandy Carvalho, who's the Director of Strategic Advancement and Economic Resources, is here. If there's any questions, she's been in a lead on the project county. So if you would give me questions for Ms. Carvalho, or if you have anything to add.
I'd like to make a motion.
So we have a motion from Mr. Hill to support.
I'll say.
We have a second from Commissioner Cole. All those in favor?
Okay, I can.
Oh, question, sorry.
Yeah. Will this, say, well, that affect anything having to do with the entrance, you know, on that?
Welcome so I'm ready for all over HDB for Nassau County. So within the A2O boundaries, the only property that's on William Island that would potentially be purchased and protected is acreage right next to Fort Lynch on Higgins Creek. So that is obviously an important entry point to the Atlantic Ocean. So that's your closest impact. And if it was purchased through the Florida River project, it would be put in preservation.
And that would be the north side of you?
Sorry, it's all right. So west. So if you enter onto Fort Lynch, immediately to your left, all the way stretching along. So I can't remember the exact acreage of it. That's the closest one to you in the neighborhood.
Okay. About businesses upstream. Would that affect it?
Yeah. Yeah. So the purpose of the Conservation Land Acquisition Program, that 5 properties that are at risk or could potentially be developed, either for residential or commercial. So with the Atlantic to Okefenokee corridor, the state the local point. So properties that met a certain criteria of size, and that had either 0 or structure of them were put into the A2O application. So properties that are larger size, we looked at 50 acres with no structures on them, or 100 acres with 1 structure. When we say structure, typically that would be like a home or small building that would be primed for some type of development. They get either residential or commercial.
Okay, so the blockout portion, that it would block out.
No, sir. I would say we block out. Now I do want to point out these are all will and sell it for. So someone would have to be willing to sell their property in this case to the state for conservation purposes. So anything that's within and the A2O is separate from the county's conservation land management program. They work in tandem. This gives us other broader opportunities. These that could be developed for folks who want to sell them. We also going to point out that anything that's related to our plan program, conservation land program, or the A2O is very much multi-generational. We don't expect to turn around next year and be able to access all these properties. We're thinking over the lifetimes of the Napa County citizens for children and grandchildren and even beyond.
You say that you said that some here for example.
Yeah, Senator Yarborough versus Black have already submitted letters, putting more of this.
Yeah, Steve, the calendar is all VOCC.
So we submitted the application with the North Carolina Trust.
Right. Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes.
Thank you very much. We hope to come back with some great news that we were ranked very high. Thank you for our work.
And it goes on.
We'll make sure you get great credit.
Top of top.
Yeah.
Alright, moving forward, tab D under new business, this is resolution 2024 R13, it's an amendment. I'm going to go through now and read the amendments, and then, we will have a discussion on it. So this is a resolution of the County Port Authority of Nassau County, amending resolutions 2024 R07 and 2024 R08, providing for an effective date. Whereas Ocean Highway Port Authority is an independent special district created charter and laws of the state of Florida, whereas OPA has the authority, duty, and obligation to act in the best interest of OPA, the citizens of Nassau County, and the state of Florida. Whereas resolution 2024 R07 resolved that OPA will oversee the sale of OPA property at the locations listed in the resolution. Whereas resolution 2024 R08 resolved the sale and all conditions thereto of the property described above will be subject to the approval of the OPA Board of Commissioners and provide for certain approved uses of the sale of proceeds. Whereas OPA has not yet entered into any contractual agreement to effectuate the aforementioned resolutions, whereas OPA has determined that disposing of the aforementioned property is not in the best interest of OPA, the citizens of Nassau County, and the state of Florida. Now therefore be it resolved by the Commissioners for Ocean Highway Port Authority, Nassau County, Florida, that Section 1, OPA hereby rescinds both resolutions 2024 R07 and R08. And it was approved that Ocean Highway Port Authority, Nassau County, hereby adopts the following resolution effective the dates of the approval.
Yeah, so Chair, I asked Rosanna to assist with preparing this, and thank you, Rosanna, for doing that. So at our last meeting, there was, at the end of the meeting, there was an emergency action that was taken, and the agreement that was referenced, it was not clear which agreement, because the board had received multiple copies of it. There was no effective date. There was also no time for execution. And so as chair, when I received that information, I got back to Rosanna. I said, let's try to figure out which document is supposed to be executed. And so she talked with Patrick, and they identified the last version of a document that had been put before the board, but it still had links in it. And so I prepared this resolution to give the board the opportunity to start over with this process. And if it chooses to proceed with the sale, which it sounds like there may be consensus to do that, then we would actually receive the document at a meeting and read that document and vote on it together as a board and move forward in the right way. We went through our master plan process starting in 2022. And when we first started talking about selling property, there was a neighborhood meeting that was held that was actually put together by the organizers of our master plan process. So we had consultants, RSNH, did this process for us. You probably learned all about this when you ran for office, Scott, looking back at the meeting minutes. And at that first meeting that we talked about selling land, the public was very much opposed. I actually received several emails from brokers locally that said, you know, I'm not even going to bid on this because OPA shouldn't sell industrial property or any real property. If you're an industrial property and you own adjacent lots, whether there's a residential or there's own conservation, they serve the benefit to you that they are not properties adjacent to your industrial use. And if you look to the mill, if you look to either of the mills, and any other industrial property owner in the city, they are seeking to acquire land regardless of the zoning, just to have those buffers and to have additional control over the property. And so that was the initial feedback. Well, then the OPA commissioners came back and told the public in several meetings and public workshops that we would put deed restrictions into any listing agreement, that we would have that language in there, and that would be 6 bidders on the deeds. The RFP, mind you, was also for just general real estate services. So we received several different bids that had opinions of value, that had business plans, some of which included OPA actually developing the land ourselves. So during that whole process, 3 of the 6 bidders ultimately dropped out. And then we were left with some out of town realtors and 1 local realtor, which, the board ultimately selected. But the whole process for negotiating that didn't really track our typical RFP process. So, I would propose that if we want to do this, that we do it correctly, because a land sale is something that you can't undo later, you can't ever do it again. And we know that we wouldn't be able to afford to acquire property in the city if we sell it. Pierre has advised the board that selling land to cover variable costs such as maintenance is a poor financial decision. And so, I offer this resolution as an opportunity for the board to move forward. I'd like to, make a motion that we adopt the resolution with the amendment that the title, would say rescinding resolutions 24 R7, right? So that just one of them.
I know you made a motion, but I know, Patrick, your comments, so.
Second.
I'm
sorry. Second, you need a second.
Yeah. Do we have a second on this motion, on this resolution? Okay, so ultimately, what this resolution would do,
Did you second? Okay. So we have to have a second, we can discuss.
in my, as chair, previous board I was on, the chair never made a motion. I've never seconded the motion on the board, but,
You can make a motion for sake of discussion.
so I can second, or second, okay, so I'll second, so more discussion time.
Sure. So I just want to talk procedurally, about what needs to be done. You have, these resolutions cover 2 actions taken by the board. You cannot rescind by way of resolution. You have to have a specific motion to rescind. Per Robert's rules, which I know we don't follow all of Robert's rules because of our size and how we're set up, but that's really the only thing I have to go by. If a motion to rescind is not noticed, then a supermajority, 2/3, which for us is 4 is required. If the motion to rescind is noticed at a meeting and then put on the following meeting agenda, then you just need a simple majority. But you need to rescind previous action. It is board action was taken. For example, the last meeting where board, by way of emergency, which was properly put before the board and voted on, then board voted to approve the listing agreement. That listing had been signed, you would not, no action has been taken to my knowledge on that, so it can be rescinded. But if you want to rescind each of these 2 previously approved resolutions, you need separate motions to rescind. If you want to do it tonight, you need a 2/3 vote to do that. So you can't just do it by way of an amendment. It's improperly titled. You can't amend a resolution to rescind it. That's a complete reversal. So it requires a motion to rescind, and then you could approve a resolution to then take action. You've got to unwind the reverse or the official word rescind. There's two previous board actions. You have one saying we will sell this specific parcel, and then you have one saying we will enter into this listing agreement. I appreciate and understand Commissioner Hill's comments that the listing agreement wasn't put before the board, but no substantive changes have been made to that listing agreement. They've been subject to several agendas before, subject to several public comments before. So I'm comfortable that the action taken by the board at the last meeting was valid. If you want to unwind it, that's your business. You just need to do it by way of proper procedure. So my comment would be motion on the floor for the second for discussion or improper based on procedures that come from this book. We don't have our own separate tools, so this is what I'm.
Well, I did send you, a copy of this, and I appreciate your comments that, if I could check. I appreciate your comments that, to undo the action of the board, I think you were a bit at a disadvantage because the agreement at times was not presented as part of the agenda, and at other times you weren't present. And so there was discussion, but then we weren't clear on the answers, and then the broker stood up and tried to answer the questions about the fee, but you weren't here at that meeting, and so it was somewhat disjointed. And typically when we vote on an agreement, we have you know, a document in front of us, and then having the document in front of us elicits conversation so that we all know we're on the same page. As opposed to that document over there up in, you know, sky.
I understand that, but nevertheless, the board voted 3-2 to approve. There was discussion. Nobody brought that specific objection forward. There were 2 no votes, but the board took action, so that action has to be dealt with.
But there's no effective date, there was no time for the chair to do that, so the chair could just never do that.
I mean, the board voted to direct the chair to sign the contract.
So as it stands now, the board has directed the chair to sign the agreement at no date certain. And the agreement has no effective date.
That's the action the board took. If you want to unwind that, you just have to do it the right way, not arguing the policy of it or the intent. That's what the board did. If you want to unwind that, you gotta do it. And that would be by a separate motion to rescind that specific board action.
And ultimately, and again, I was one of the 2, for the, you know, against the sale of the land. But yeah, if it's, I mean, it was a 3-2 vote, so, that, to me, I see that as, yes, the chair was directed to sign, therefore should move forward. And I do understand your concerns, but I think now, looking at this, so so ultimately this motion, the second we have is valid, right? I mean, it's valid because we need to, it needs to go a different way. We need to have 2 separate ones where we, whether rescind the board action of selling the land and then rescind the board action of entering into a listing agreement.
Right. For the motion and second are on the floor now, I don't trump those decisions. You either vote on it, or you withdraw it. My advice to you is that the pending motion and second are improperly put before the board. And so it should be withdrawn, but that's just my recommendation.
So does this satisfy the notice requirement of putting it on the next meeting agenda?
I think what you need to do is provide notice at this meeting. I intend to put before the board a motion to rescind these 2 previous board actions and have that on the agenda, which would only require the majority of. You can do it now. You just need a 2/3 vote for us if it's 4 votes.
So in that case, then I will send my second to then place this on the January agenda.
Yeah, I will bring forward that motion.
So you need to, if you want to rescind both previous board actions, you need a motion to rescind
It's a motion, it's not a resolution.
correct. You need to rescind both actions of the board. So you need 2 different motions to rescind. Unless you're just focusing on one.
And nothing in writing.
No, you can notify the board, we intend to bring forward motions to rescind.
Then I'll withdraw my motion.
Are we still?
I will withdraw my motion.
We withdraw the motion, but
In response. To carry our motion. What do we? The decision you made, I probably would be really different, but the decision hadn't been made about before, I would probably support that. Moving forward.
And I've got to add to that, we have got to stop this. We got to, if we keep going, the board has voted, we have voted 3-2. There have been 4-1, there have been 5. We can't keep going back to Tom's attention to. Excuse me, question, we get our way. I mean, we've got to stop. It seems like every time something is brought up, either by the sale or the living, or who we might, one way or the other, it's always a pushback that we're trying to get this original motion that was 3-2 to sell the property. We're trying to get that changed. And that's what we've got to get that done.
but still salvageable. And so for us to get to that point of not being short-sighted, really thinking long-term, I think, yes, I think it should be the next meeting, but we will, we'll move on to the next resolution that we have here is resolution 2024-R14. And like the last one, I'll go through and read this one. It's a resolution of Highway Port Authority of Nassau County adopting a policy pertains to employment for commissioner, providing for an effective date. Whereas the Ocean Highway Board Authority is an independent special district, creating a chart from the laws of Florida, whereas the has the obligation, responsibility to adopt policies to ensure the commissioners act with integrity, that exceeds the minimum requirements of the law. Whereas foreign ethics laws contemplate that local government should adopt policies to bolster public confidence in local and state government and aid the Open Commission in achieving its charter purpose for the benefit of citizens of Nassau County and the state of Florida. Whereas the minimum standard required by law, persons elected to county, municipal, school district, or special district office is prohibited from representing another person or entity for compensation before the government body or agency of which he or she was an officer for 2 years after leaving office. Appointed officers and employees of counties, municipalities, school districts, and special districts may be subject to a similar restriction by local ordinance or resolution. Now therefore be it resolved by the Commissioners of the Ocean Highway Port Authority, Nassau County, Florida, that one, OPA adopts the aforementioned ethics standard and policy. 2, this resolution shall be effective upon its adoption. All right. We have discussion on this item.
Yes, so I asked Rosanna to prepare this in response to statements that were made in the last meeting about outgoing Commissioner Fullwood working in some capacity for the board. And I think it's worth stating that the sentiments of all boards that can speak for us is that we appreciate Danny Fullwood's service to this community and to this board and years of service. And I just want to let that stand on its own. I'd also like to read from the Florida statutes that it's essential to the proper conduct and operation of government that public officials be independent and impartial, and that public office not be used for private gain, other than their remuneration provided by law, which is our salary as public officials here. The public interest therefore requires that the law protect against any conflict of interest and establish standards for the conduct of elected officials and government employees in situations where conflict may exist. And those conflicts, frankly, are not always apparent to us because we are humans and we love ourselves, we love one another, and we want everyone to have a good job and to support themselves. But this public office is not the way that we give other people good jobs because they were formerly officials. We should be creating jobs for the community as a whole. And so there is actually spelled out in the statutes a specific requirement that if you serve in a public office, you cannot then go before that board for compensation for 2 years. And other boards have adopted the time limit that's even longer. And it even says in the statute that the municipality or school district can be subject to a similar restriction with local ordinance or resolution. So this is the minimum is the 2-year restriction. And so that's why we crafted it in 3 years. I would welcome feedback. I'd like to make a motion, we adopt it as it is. But of course, if we get a second, I would welcome feedback on the time limit or anything else that you do. So there's a motion on the floor for resolution R 2024. I'm sorry, 2024 R 14.
I had a comment or question, but again, with the motion, kind of, I'm a little bit on that.
I'll withdraw the motion.
All right, thank you. So it's my understanding with the verbiage that's here, I know there's the law, the state statute, that if you're a commissioner, let's take your state county, your county commissioner, you can't come back and be a lobbyist for 2 years. You come before that board and lobby for, be paid to lobby for whatever it is, whatever the need is. So with this, I don't, and maybe I'm not too familiar with what, and I'm not opposed to that, but I guess what I'm, and I'm not trying to, Commissioner Fullwood or former Commissioner Fullwood, I know because you mentioned this, and that's why, you said that we're looking at maybe taking your job away from you by doing this. I'm not exactly clear on what you'd be doing. Are you going to be, is it almost like a lobbyist position? We're going to come here, and you're going to lobby to us, advocate to us for the needs of Savage. And so that's where I usually lobby aside, the language as relates to that, and that's how I interpret this, just knowing based on how it was. But maybe I'm wrong, Patrick. I don't know if you is that their interpretation. Okay.
And by the way, it's already on students, like whether we adopt it or not, it's already.
And I think that was my understanding. Yeah, that was my understanding. So I don't, it's really. Again, I don't remember that would be for the legal folks to determine, but
Here, commission. That would be my understanding. I read the statute, and I see statute in the book, we really need to leave. Effectively confirming that statute. Law.
yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to confirming, on a local level as well. Just have something. I'm not opposed to that at all. I just want to point out that I didn't, again, the way I'm reading it is that it's for like a lobbyist position that someone would get paid to come up here and after leaving this board, they're not going to pay to come up here and speak in front of us to lobby us to benefit their now employer. But again, and I don't think about that. Just that you mentioned that, and so I don't see how that would really affect you.
Not a lot of this position. Has it been withdrawn?
So it has, yes, it has been withdrawn. But we now let's look at the motion. Now that we've had discussion, we can see the motion itself. So if we have a motion for resolution 2024-414.
Yes, I'll make that motion.
We have a second. I will make a second on that. All those in favor?
I'd like to make a motion to amend. I'd like to section 2 strike out after the words of this resolution shall affect until it's adopted and insert in its place shall apply to all those elected officials that leave office after the day this resolution after January 1st, 2025.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Can you go back? Where were you looking that up to that?
Section 2.
Okay.
Striking the word after each resolution
Okay.
and inserting shall apply to all local elected officials that leave office after January 1st, 2025.
Okay. Thank you, that's your attention.
Okay.
So I will amend my initial motion to as amended by your amendment. Sorry.
Okay. So, and I'll second your motion that Ms. Commissioner Morse amendment. Any other question? Any other discussion? All those in favor?
I
Opposed? No. Yes, 3-2. Motion carries 3-2.
So that doesn't apply to me.
Well, I'm not an attorney, so I can't.
Sorry,
it applies to all of us.
but it doesn't apply to me because I didn't allow that 422.
No.
All right, so moving on. Motion passed 3-6. Moving on to tab D, resolution 2024-14, adoption of CapEx. I'm not missing that.
I did not get, no, well, it does not need a resolution to accept the CapEx. So-
CapEx plan from Saturday
Correct.
that we saw last,
Oh,
like the
yeah.
5-year plan.
Capital expenditure plan.
It's not, it's Savage's plan.
It was
Yeah.
deferred from last meeting to this meeting.
Yeah, we don't need a resolution, you don't need to approve what we need, just make sure we do every year supply with any law that our opinion warrant reflects when we accomplish certain goals and didn't, but there's no soon be advised board on this.
All right, any questions for Bethany? All right, and then we just have, our 2025 open meeting schedule on here, is listed. I know there's suggestions for the December meeting, 2025 to December 3rd, as opposed to December 10th. Is there any objection to December 3rd? If you're looking, you're planning that far in.
Yeah. I have to submit that to the Parks and Rec to reserve this auditorium.
So I think, I'm okay with changing it to December 3rd. There's a,
The purpose of the whole Wednesday work, just so that we can catch up, because we had so much going on. Now, we deem, we don't need that for me, any of those ones that we can. So, not,
Yeah, typically we cancel the second meeting and one of the meetings in January. And then we move to a meeting on November, December, just because with the holidays, it's challenging.
So you're suggesting, eliminate January 22nd and then November 26th and December 24th?
Yes. But if you, so for January, I was gonna say, if you leave it on there for now, you can cancel it more easily than you can reschedule it.
Let's leave it on there for. We'll fix that up.
And December,
Yeah.
December 10th,
September.
okay. Is that consensus of the board?
I don't know, thought it would be in welcome down. That would be so, but if we need to move it back, then we can, I mean,
Yeah, I think we come out finding a way earlier. Easier. I think just get everybody kind of planning, for their trips. I don't want to cut them off in mid-December. So let's just go with November 12th, December 3rd, unless there's any objections. And then we'll eliminate, of course, November 26th and 24th, December 24th.
Yeah.
It's 58.
make a motion to my phone.
Okay, so great, stay here. All right, so, commissioner reports, do we have any youth development reports? Development reports, community reports, Commissioner Nelson, on security.
All right, on the security, I know that, there was an incident, last part of, November 4th. For a police patrol unit was standing, you should have gotten a picture. I took the liberty of putting Allied Water on notice of their full responsibility for the damage to the patrol unit. What ended up happening was the officer was entering the port. The security officer inadvertently, had the remote and closed the barrier gate down on the patrol unit. Again, I've been in touch with Deputy Chief, Bishop. And, he is in the process of giving me a, estimate of repair that I will forward to the GM of Allied, and we'll have that taken care of. The security officer was disciplined, but not removed. So that's taken care of.
So there's down on to keep them from going down.
His interim return, inadvertently, the button was pushed and the gate is closed.
Okay, so what, keep them
Now,
out.
when he, roll. And, I mean, I talked to, Bishop and he was fine with it. They'll have it, fixed and Allied every year. So, the damage, as you can see there, is fairly minor, some scratches. And then right there, the windshield was a little bit, that's thing I can take care of. But outside of that, there's no other security issues, to be mentioned. The port facility, with the cranes, I didn't see, report from, Mr. Clark. And in that report, I have a deep concern, and we need to make sure that this is covered, because I have been out there on several occasions and looking at these cables on these cranes. They're in dire need of grease. I don't even look back into history, but the incident that we had out there, a few years ago, where a crane, did snap a cable. We're heading in the same direction. So we need to get some grease on them, cables. I plan on being out there next week. I did talk to some people at other ports to find out what their interval of maintenance was, and they do not do it by the month. They do it by the hour of operation for that crane. Because anytime you have a cable running over a pulley or under it, you're wearing it. And when you don't have a grease on, you're destroying the cable. What happens is those twines of wire flatten, and as the cable is twisting, they're breaking. So if we don't put grease on and we don't penetrate that grease to the floor, we're going to be in some serious trouble, and we're going to have failures from it. So I'm going to ask Tyler if he will step that process up and let us get some grease on the cable. Like I say, I will be out there, and I'll follow up with the board on that. But that is the biggest issue that we have for us right now, because I don't think anybody at this table wants to explain if we have a cable system. And it's a very, very big possibility with the status of the cable that we could have an issue. So I'll follow up. I'll supply photos and report back to this board once we can get that grease put on those cables. I know you said number 9, the hoist motor is out to be rebuilt.
Yeah, so the motor hasn't completely failed yet, so our intention is to take that motor out and get it rebuilt for the town. But the plan is when that hoist motor goes back in, because you know, the hoist motor needs staples.
Right.
That project happens in.
Okay. On number 10, that thing falling over the same use issues. We need to get those.
Yeah, that one will come right up.
You know, I've been there. I was off the day that the accident happened, but I was called in to investigate it, and that's not something that I want to do again. So I would appreciate any additional effort. If it's a man issue or whatever, let's try to work that out and get somebody up on the crane to get those cables greased. The FDOT, we had one grant that we're waiting on to close. That's the G1W55 for the fabric warehouse. I want to ask a question on that. Why does it take so long to settle these? I hear it on the dots because people are talking on that. That we can't get this paid, or there's a permitting problem, and whatever the case may be, we need to settle that. Close this out, get the people paid that need to be paid. I understand there's $200,560 or something like that. So we need to get on. We need to get that done, get this closed out, because we have until January the 28th, 2025 to get it done. If not, there'll be no reversal. So, and we can stand around and discuss it. But somebody's gonna be losing a lot of money if you don't make that deadline. So with that being said, the, G2W07, we're waiting on compliance documentation to send to FDOT. We're waiting on them right now to give us the form so we can go out and get it back to them. The only open grant that we have, the G2437, pure improvements to fender replacements. And the grant expires March 31st, 2026. But again, we need to move forward with this. I know that there are some fenders out there that direly, desperately need to be replaced. Some of them are even held up by a chain. So it needs to be taken care of. So with that being said, I want to thank Rosanna for working with the DOT, FDOT, and cleaning up all that mess. I mean, she went through with them, Christina and Kyle, and just performed a miracle, cleaning all this stuff up, get it closed out, and final. So, thank you for that. Commissioner, is there a medical schedule? Absolutely, absolutely. And there's monthly inspection are required. Please, to review, continue that, papers, forward, and prevent, when it's all part of the inspection. And it's not been done. That's it. Yeah. We need to, I'm gonna work closely with Kyle. And any assistance that I can give him, I commit that to him. We've got to get these claims up the street.
It sounds like we need like a formal notice to the operator with their non-compliance. That's something you can do, or would you typically see that in an operator?
Don't change schedule, so it's an operator, owner operator shop. So
This is been outstanding.
quite some time. Just by the looks of the cables, they are turning a very right on. So we need to get them done, and you know, even when the crane is sitting and it's not being used, you still have to keep that grease on to protect it from elements. They're over salt water, the wind, rain, it's a problem for the cables. You know, they're made up of multiple strands. When you start losing the strand, you start losing the strand. It's a big mess. And there's a come up with a number of the meeting that I've been called. Just smaller community that people on beyond they have for the new area and taking care of it's going to get it. But it's going to be really start fishing their fire responsible decline if they care of keep from the tourist.
Patrick, comment?
On that specifically, I mean, if it's a letter that's gonna come from, me or your lawyer, I need to know what they're out of compliance with. I need to know what the standards are, what the requirements are. If I'm citing somebody, I'm putting you on notice you're out of compliance, I need to say that. I need to know what that's based on, so I'm happy to work with Commissioner Nelson on that or the operator. But I can't just send a blanket notice, without.
Get your specs on the
Comment on the grant for I'm not gonna say it right, the peer offender. The operator sent the draft of the grant, it wasn't worded correctly, it was all in the Savage, which, it's not asphalt terminals, it's also not OPA. So I sent back a bunch of comments to Greg, he received and said, you're right, we got some work to do, and my recollections, the email said you have another draft back to me by the end of this week. So the ball's in their court. He knows it's got to be done. He's got my comments.
Okay. I'll follow up with that as well, because we need to get those, we damage the ship. And it's gonna be just, much more complicated.
Thank you.
The grant, the, he says something about the grant following the water. That,
They gotta, like you do an extract, and they're going to hydro.
Thank you. Anything else on your report? Economic development, Mr. Cole.
Unfortunately, after our last meeting, what the hospital next one, I didn't track the, what was surgery, so, when we had our meeting. Yeah. Our. Next, do not have a report.
We're glad you're doing better. Where's the guy report?
Nothing about. I should.
Mr. Hill, yeah,
yeah, so I served on the bylaws rewrite committee for the TPO board, which is helpful because Rosanna has asked about maybe like organizational procedures. So we went through the bylaws, they're pretty standard updates just to conform with practices, committees that serve Jacksonville and don't really are now being conformed by other agencies. There is a clarification to the way alternates would be selected, so each board, appoints a representative to the TPO. So the county has a representative, JTA has a representative, we have a representative, JAS board, the board is made up of representative boards or representative individuals that, it's intended to align with the population of the TPO boundaries. So we will have the ability to send an alternate. I was Commissioner Cole's alternate, who was chair of TPO, and I did enjoy attending meetings and sitting in silence. So that's the only major thing to report, other than we did announce the FDOT's long-term plan, and our next meeting is set for. I'm sorry, I put a date on it.
thank you, Mr. Hill, and if you jump around here, so some of these, committee reports, I know we don't, kind of, they're vacant right now, we'll fill those at the meeting. The Chamber of Commerce report, so next week is their annual membership luncheon, it's on Thursday. So I actually just saw tickets are sold out, so we got tickets are going, I'll see you there, if not, I'm sorry, you're gonna miss a great time. I do want to, let's touch on community outreach just a little bit. So Barnabas City Bowls luncheon is this week. And just like last year, saw Rosanna there, helping serve and really volunteering her time, wrapping bowls, and we had over 700 people attending. It's at the Ritz-Carlton. The idea around empty bowls, we're not familiar with it, is it's Barnabas' way of really raising money for hunger. And there's a symbol of the empty bowl. There's the, you think of like a soup kitchen because that's what you're eating, soup. And I'd say it's actually pretty good soup. But a long line, when you go up to get that soup, it's a real humbling experience. But seeing so many people in the community come together, and it's a great organization, Barnabas, and it's always one of those every holiday season that really kicks off with empty bowls. And so great job to Jamie Reynolds, who's there, who runs this, and her entire team. And again, thank you, Rosanna, for being there and for volunteering. It was great seeing you. So as we get into the holiday season, we have Dickens on Center next week. So it's December 12th. They have a illuminated processional. Then Friday, around 5:30, 6 o'clock, you go down to the main stage. You see Santa Claus. Santa Claus will be down there. And I will be there with them. So shameless plug. Come down and see Santa Claus. What's that? It's the real Santa Claus. That's what they told me. They said just in UMC, Santa's going to be there. So the whole Santa's there. So don't forget that parade also. There is a parade.
No, this Saturday.
Oh, this Saturday.
Fernandina Lighted Parade.
Fernandina Lighted Parade, but it's before the Fernandina Lighted Parade on December 6th. There is the lighting of the Christmas tree out at the Robert Foster Judicial Complex. at, that's it's the sixth, December 6th. It's December 6th, one of the organizers behind it is, it's the 6th. So anyway, there's a lot of things going on. So what I'm saying is enjoy the holidays with your family and your friends. It's certainly going to be a great time. Rosanna, Administrative Office Report, we have your report here. Do you have anything quick to?
I do. Just the first question, you don't want to assign committees right now. You want to assign
We're gonna
committees.
wait till January,
Okay.
dinner, so slot.
Okay, real quick, I just want to tell the board that I will be sending the operator an invoice for the indemnification reimbursement for matter 007 property appraiser case. To date, the total is $3,972.50. So I will be invoicing them because we have not gotten the payment. And you're aware of that. That's it.
All right, once again, congratulations. Welcome to new Commissioner Scott Moore. Looking forward to serving with you for the next few years. Thank you to everyone for your trust to serve as chair. And I'm excited. Thank you to Commissioner Hill for your service as chair, and congratulations to the other officers. And once again, happy birthday to Julia Roberts. Hope it's a great one. Hope it didn't end with this. Hope there's more fun to be had. And Merry Christmas.